going on, guys? It's Dan the Man, aka Daniel's son, and we are going to talk The Matrix Resurrection spoiler review. So I'm not going to dive too much into this film because I think this film, a lot of the reviewers are giving it hate. You know, they absolutely they absolutely hate this movie. I didn't hate it. I think it's a kind of movie. There will be some spoilers I'll be talking about, but it's like kind of minor spoilers. It's things that you probably already know if you saw the trailers. The weakest thing about this film is that it's the fight choreography. The fights could be so much better. It's the usage of some of the effects that they used to do back in the 90s and then trying to bring it back now, and it just looks very bad. For a movie that feels outdated, and even though The Matrix is the one that kind of started it all with the bullet effect and everything, it's kind of weird that we get a movie here that just feels outdated or just feels not as good as low budget movies like John Wick could present. And it's kind of crazy to know that Keanu Reeves is back, Carrie Ann Moss. I think they had great chemistry. I think they're the heart of the film, and I think the Neo and Trinity aspect is a lot better. It's a lot better presented in this film than, let's say, the other Matrix films. Which I loved Matrix 1. I didn't care for Matrix 2. I actually kind of like Matrix 3. But because of the action sequences in that, like the whole spectacle on that as well. I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of interesting ideas in this film, especially presenting with Neo as he's kind of like this game developer and he made the Matrix. I thought at first I wasn't gonna like it, but I kind of like that aspect of it, and then how his acting's a little bit different in the first half compared to the second half. A lot of the secondary characters are not very memorable. I think the only memorable one is Bugs Bunny. It's the chick with the blue hair. I think she was pretty good. I thought she was really good for what she was given. I would like to see her character a little bit more explored. But during the film, like nobody could shoot in this film. And there's some high flying, crazy flips. There's a lot of shots being fired. There's a lot of handgun usage. Other than Keanu Reeves never even having a gun, he uses more of a repellent kind of power, which I kind of like, but. You know, it's not the Neo that it's not OP Neo in this story. Really isn't no like intensity throughout this thing. Like it's crazy how like a lot of the crews in the previous films really kind of like, they risk their lives, they sacrifice their lives. And for the most part, you know they're gonna die. But in this one, the crew with Keanu and even Carrie Ann Moss, Trinity, I never got the aspect that any of them were gonna die, and they don't. There's it doesn't feel as intense as it should be. But there is a little things here and there, like if you guys can see, there's a new Agent Smith. Is not played by what's his name anymore, and it's of course Lawrence Fishburne is not back. It's a different kind of Morpheus. I think that's the one thing I was like, you could have brought those two back. Hugo Weaving as Smith, and you could have brought Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus, but they didn't do that, and they changed it up. It makes kind of sense, but I still didn't like the call that they did on that, and I thought they should have just brought him back, honestly. It wouldn't have hurt the film whatsoever. The guy that plays the new Morpheus, I'm not going to butcher his name. I'm not going to try to say it, but I think he's okay. I don't think he's the greatest actor in the world, honestly, or at least he was trying to do the best he could with the material. I seen him in Aquaman, and I thought he was okay in that role too, but he's not really given a lot to do to shine. But I just don't think he's as memorable, especially like trying to fill in the shoes. It's not his fault, but Lawrence Fishburne's character and acting, and it just didn't feel right. Just having like a lot of the flashbacks on this, when they're bringing Neo back into the fold and presenting the Matrix 1 and showing them all the events happen and a lot of these flashbacks that happen, that kind of bogged the movie down, where I was like, they honestly should have just brought Lawrence Fishburne back. Don't get me wrong, there is some exciting action sequences. Like, it didn't bore me. Like, there was things that happened in the film where I was generally entertained. It's just, for a Matrix movie, you expect a little bit more, and I think any other movie it'd be fine, but for a Matrix property like this, it should have been better than what we got. The whole with Neil Patrick Harris and being pretty much the architect, or the him creating this world, and him kind of like doing a little bit things differently than the what the second Matrix presented, and then having Trinity being now. A lot of people are going to be in uproar because Trinity now being the one. It was presented, and if you really look closely and listen to the dialogue in the other movies, that it was assumed that Neo wasn't just the one. There has been the one in recycled all these times, but it's been hinted that he's not just the one. Like there is other ones. So I did like that. Instead of Neo being the only one, that Trinity was another, like a yin and yang. It was his other half, and that they're both pretty much the one. And now they're both gonna move on and create this different Matrix, which could be good and bad at the same time. So I think the movie suffers with it's a 2.5 hour movie. I don't think it needs to be that long. It suffers with creativity, honestly. I think this movie could be more creative, could have thrown more shots, and could have been just really, the script could have been, I like the ideas, but you didn't really have to rehash a lot of what the first Matrix did. They could have. What I liked about some of the elements I liked about the second and third Matrix it's kind of like the prequels, right? The prequels are not that great, but they do present something a little bit new into the universe. So I was hoping that the Matrix Resurrection would present something kind of, and they do sort of, but just a little bit more out there kind of ideas I would have liked. And the meta kind of thing that everybody's going to be talking about out of this film, I didn't have a problem with. Some things actually really work, but I could see why people would have a problem with the meta thing. They literally name drop Warner Brothers in here, and it seems like the situation that maybe Wachowski had with them moving forward and making another Matrix with her or without her, or so that might have been actually what happened behind the scenes. So the Matrix Resurrections is not like it's not a terrible, like I don't find it garbage. There's been worse movies I've seen this year, but I don't find it. I wouldn't blame people for not liking this film. It's a movie that you're gonna watch and you're just absolutely gonna forget. You're just gonna really look into the other 3 Matrix movies, and if they do move forward with the sequels, I mean, I really think they need a new director. They need definitely a fight choreographer. They just need to move on from the Wachowskis and maybe have somebody else who has more brilliant ideas. Because if you look at the Animatrix, what I love about that is that it's kind of like shorts throughout the whole of the Matrix mythology, but there's so many hands in that film that it makes it so unique and makes some of these stories like very out there. And sometimes with the Matrix you need that, right? And I know there's messages in all throughout the Matrix movies, especially this one, but I just feel like it just wasn't. I feel like this movie should have been a little bit more ambitious. It really did feel like it was sleepwalking through what they wanted to say and what they wanted to do. And that's no disrespect. I know there's a lot of hard work when it comes to film, but with The Matrix, it's a very forgettable film, unfortunately. But if they do move on to make sequels, I hope they bring somebody else into this, and maybe the Wachowskis kind of like play a producer role than anything. Because they do have great ideas. Sense8 is actually a fantastic show. I did not like the ending, but there is ideas like that out there. So that's my review on The Matrix Resurrections. What did you guys think about it? I give, I say if you have HBO Max, watch it on HBO Max. It's not a theater movie, so yeah. But if you do go to the theaters, grab a ticket, grab a seat. Make sure you got some good popcorn. I'm Dan the Man, aka Danielson. I'm out of here, guys.